Before, we wrote a function with only one parameter, amount. How do we write a function with multiple parameters? Here's what that would look like. Line 2 still defines our function, and here it's defined with the name currency amount. It takes two different parameters, given by the two variable names inside the parentheses. It takes currency and it takes amount, two parameters separated by a comma. When this code runs, it runs line 2 and loads knowledge of a function called currency amount into its working memory. So if it encounters that function call, it knows where to go. As before, it then skips the entire body of the function, which here is a lot longer. Until the function is called, it doesn't even look at lines 3 through 10. Then it runs line 13. As before, line 13 says to print the output of the function called currency amount, and then it gives two arguments instead of just one. The first argument is GBP for British pounds, and the second argument is the number 5, which gives the amount to print along with the currency label. Notice that the order of these arguments matches the order of these parameters. Our first argument is GBP for currency, and our first parameter was currency. Second argument was 5, which was the amount. Our second parameter is amount. That's how Python knows which argument goes in to which parameter. It assumes the order is correct. First argument to first parameter, second argument to second parameter, and so on. The body of our revised function is now a series of conditional statements that check to see if the currency is any one of the ones that we expect. Here our code is written to recognize Japanese yen, US dollars, British pounds, and if no recognized currency is given, it just prints the amount without a currency label. So when we call currency amount down here on line 13, it loads GBP as the value of the variable currency and 5 as the value of the variable amount. Again, this is like starting the function body with currency equals a string of GBP and amount equals the integer 5. So now we have these two variables that we can use inside of this function body. From there, the body of this function runs just as if it had been written directly. On line 3, it checks to see if the currency equals JPY. It doesn't, so it still skips line 4. On line 5, it checks to see if currency equals USD. It still doesn't, so it skips line 6 again. On line 7, it checks to see if the currency equals GBP, which it did, and so now it does run line 8. Line 8 creates a string with a symbol for British pounds, followed by the number 5, and returns it back out to the main program to replace the function call itself. So now it's as if we had just printed the string British pounds 5. I should have chosen an easier currency to write. Now notice something a little bit interesting here. The else block in the function would have been skipped anyway because one of those ifs was actually triggered. However, what if something was actually written down here, outside of the else, at the end of the function? It still would have been skipped because that return statement terminates the function's execution and automatically returns the program to the main code, or to whatever code called that function in the first place. As soon as execution hits the word return, the function is over. Anything after the return statement will not be run. So when we call currency amount, lines 9 and 10 are skipped for multiple reasons. They're skipped in part because that branch of this conditional will not run if that previous part did run, but it's also skipped because the function already returned.